Alright, for this next step we are going to need our config from before restored. So I have built my config to match up. If you look, I have my Ethernet, fast Ethernet 00 configured with my fake public IP, IPNAT outside. I have my internal interfaces configured for inter VLAN routing, IPNAT inside. I have my default route. I have my dynamic NAT with the access list and the NAT command. I have my static NAT for my server. That is a config I did, and that is a config we need. You may be saying, hey Rich, why don't we have access control list on right now? Well, we don't have access control list because we are going to start filtering with the ASA. So you basically need to get your network back into the working state it was in before. Make sure you can get out to my web server and go out from the outside and test getting into your web server. All that should work because we're not doing any filtering yet. If that doesn't work, then you're not going to have success in the next parts of the lab. So you need to make sure you make those things work before you try to continue. A word about DNS this week. You technically do not have to have your DNS server functioning this week to complete this lab, but it was probably a good idea just to turn it on and use DNS when you're testing to make sure that the DNS traffic is also making it through. So I'm going to go move my console cable from the router to the ASA now. And we're going to do the ASA transparent mode config. Transparent mode, the firewall works like a works at layer 2 to examine the frames and determine what it's going to let in and or out. So we are going to go configure our ASA to work in transparent mode. A benefit of transparent mode is that you can implement the firewall without making any additional network changes. So we're basically going to take the network config that we currently have and we're going to plug the outside interface of the router into the inside port of the ASA, and we're going to connect the ASA to the place where the outside port of the router used to be connected, and then theoretically everything's going to work magically. So first thing we want to do when we get in the ASA is we're going to run the show firewall command. This tells us whether it's in routed mode or transparent mode. This tells us it's in routed mode, which is default mode, so we want to put it in transparent mode. Command for that, firewall transparent. Oh, that's a config T command. Always forget that. Firewall transparent is the command for that. So that puts the firewall in transparent mode. It's going to run some commands to take care of that. So now if we do show firewall, again, just to verify, it is in transparent mode. So a couple things we want to do as we go through the configuration. We need to configure our interfaces to be in the VLANs. We're essentially going to create a bridge group for interfaces 0 and 1. So we're going to go interface Ethernet 0, 0. We're going to put it in VLAN 2. We're going to do no shutdown. We're going to do interface Ethernet 0, 1. We're going to put it in VLAN 1. We do no shutdown. No shutdown. And then we want to go into our VLAN interfaces. We're going to name the interface and put it in a bridge group. Alright, see that says security level for outside set to 0 by default. We'll talk about that in a moment, unless I forget. And we want to put it in bridge group 1. Bridge. Alright, so I'm going to jam two videos together. In the previous video I had started configuring and I got to this point and I tried to run the bridge group command and it wasn't there, and I thought this is really weird and annoying. So I looked for a moment and it turns out that the ASA I had grabbed from the cabinet was a donated unit that did not have the correct version of code for what we were doing this week. So the bridge group command was not there. So I pretty much got a new ASA that has the correct version of code and was able to get down to this point. And now the bridge group command works. So I'm going to continue where I was at. So we're going to put this VLAN 2 in bridge group 1. We're going to configure VLAN 1 interface. We're going to call it the inside. We are going to put it in bridge group 1 as well. And now we are going to edit the bridge virtual interface. So this is a virtual interface that is associated with those two interfaces, and we need to give it an IP address. This is an IP address we're going to use for management a little later on, and it needs to be one of the fake public IPs in your subnet that's not being used currently. So I'm not currently using 10, so I will set it to that IP with the appropriate subnet mask. Yeah. Next thing we want to do is put in a command that will let us access the web interface when we get ready to do that part. So essentially, this says let anybody connect from any IP addresses. We could specify what our IP addresses are going to be, but that usually causes us problems. So we're not going to do that. We're not going to specify. Oh, I skipped a command in my sheet. We need to enable the HTTP server too. Yeah. So we're not going to specify the source IPs at this point. We might do that later on to clean things up. And then we need to add a route to send any traffic to the next hop. And in this case, we're going to send it to the inside. Normally we set our default gateway pointing to the outside, but this is only going to be management traffic. So I want to send it to my router. So 99.99.99.2 will take care of that. So that should take care of the configuration. So we want to look at what we did. To verify, switch port access VLAN 2, interface 01. Oh wait, we put that in VLAN 1. Shouldn't that say switch port access VLAN 1? No, by default ports are in VLAN 1. So technically speaking, we didn't even have to run that command, the switch port access VLAN 1 command. But you're not going to see VLAN 1 here. That messes students up sometimes. We go down to our VLAN interfaces. We have VLAN 1. It's called inside, part of bridge group 1, security level 100. Interface VLAN 2. It's called outside, bridge group 1, security level 0. We have our bridge virtual interface IP address set with the IP address and subnet mask. We have our inside route, and we should see that our HTTP server is enabled wherever that is. Yeah, HTTP server enabled. We're going to let anybody connect to the interface that is associated with the word inside. So I mentioned earlier about security levels. By default, traffic is allowed from a lower security level to a higher security level. So, sorry, from a higher security level to a lower security level. So in this case, any traffic that comes from the inside interface going to the outside should be allowed, but the opposite is not true. So any traffic coming from the outside going towards the inside should be dropped. So at this point, we're going to do some testing to see what happens and what doesn't happen. So one of the things we're going to test is, oh, I don't have cables connected yet. So I'm going to stop the video and then change my cable connections for Ethernet, and then I will start back up with the testing.